Alright guys, welcome back. GM Light here. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of a different video because I've noticed something that I thought was just very interesting. And I think that what it pinpoints is that the audience really wants a resurgence in slashers and slasher characters. Back in the 80s, you had a lot. You had a lot of options. You had Jason, Michael, Freddy, Chucky, you had Leatherface, and you don't really get that today. We don't have those horror icons like we used to. And then Terrifier happened. And it's kind of complicated because it's been a little bit of a long road. It's not as definitive as just Terrifier came out, we had a new horror icon, and it became the new thing. It feels like each time this concept was developed, from the short films to All Hallows Eve to Terrifier, and I think the Terrifier 2, where it reached its apex, it really proved that there is a high demand for films like this with characters like Art the Clown, and it scratched an itch that a lot of horror fans didn't know that they wanted. And if they did know, they weren't getting. A lot of what's been going on is people have been looking for whoever the next new horror slasher icon is, and we really haven't had that in 20 years. You had some potential with Jeepers Creepers, but the legacy is just forever ruined by 3 being terrible, 4 being terrible, and just Victor Salva being a monster. Jigsaw kind of maybe, but that almost feels like its own thing, like its own classification. It almost doesn't belong in that slasher category almost. He himself is a lot more cerebral. He's not like an Art the Clown where he actually goes after people and it's him himself doing all the killing. But with Art the Clown, you saw a lot of enthusiasm for this character, and people are really looking forward to seeing what he's going to do in the future. Whenever I go to horror conventions now, everything's about Art the Clown. Everybody has Terrifier shirts, everybody's dressed up as Art the Clown. Even when none of the stars are there, Damien Leone's not there, David Howard Thornton's not there, none of the stars are there. Even without, this character is everywhere. He is the shit right now. He's exactly what horror fans have been wanting, needing, and I think that's going to change things. I think that people really paid attention to the way that there was that huge, gigantic return on the budget. And not only is Damien Leone going places, not only is this franchise going places, 100% for sure, we're going to be getting more characters like Art the Clown. We've gotten a few attempts before. We've had movies like The Collector, we've had movies like Creep, where it feels like they almost carved their own kind of niche fan base, I guess. But it looks like both of those franchises are only really stopping at 2 movies. Maybe if Collector 3 gets picked up again, that's a potential. Seems like Creep 3 is getting dragged out in an insane amount, so I'm not betting on us getting that 3rd movie. But it's also, too, just Terrifier 2 felt like this gravity-changing release for the horror genre. It's a huge hit. Micro budget, made an insane amount of money, is getting an insane amount of attention. People love it. I was so happy to see Art the Clown really get this almost mainstream treatment where everybody knows who he is. It's crazy. Even when I go to work and I'm drinking coffee out of my Terrifier mug, people that I work with, they're not really in the sphere. They watch movies, but they'll recognize Art the Clown. And it's always a cool thing to see. But it goes to show that what the fans and horror movie going audiences have been wanting is this sort of character. And I think that this is going to turn some studio heads. I think they're going to take chances on more indie directors with concepts like Terrifier and Art the Clown. We're going to be getting more slashers, in my opinion. Most of the slashers that we've been getting, they're kind of just rebooted, revamped versions of the ones that we've gotten in the past. Ones we've already seen, Michael Myers, Leatherface, all those. That's mostly what we get with the slasher genre nowadays. And then sometimes you'll have a hit, sometimes you'll get something. A lot of times these newer slashers kind of fade into obscurity. But Art the Clown's been on a rise for the last 10 years. He's done nothing but grow in popularity. And I think Terrifier 2 just emphasized that potential, emphasized that enthusiasm for the character. And for that reason, I think it's really going to change things. It's going to make studios think differently about horror movies. It's going to make studios think differently about slasher movies, and it might contribute to a pivot from these ghost movies, these haunting movies that they make money but people aren't as enthusiastic about it. Feels like a tired genre. And movies like Terrifier 2 generate a lot of enthusiasm and excitement. And I'll tell you, looking at my own community, people really fucking dig this character. People really fucking dig these movies. It just feels like something so unique, and in this time right now, it's almost like we're having an 80s horror series transported from then to now, now, and it's got that nostalgic quality about it that I really dig about horror movies. It reminds me of when I was a kid watching these slasher movies, watching these Freddy, Chucky movies. So overall, I really think that Terrifier 2 is going to change things. I think that things are going to be different from now on. It's going to redirect the idea of what horror movies should be and what horror movies can be made. They'll also probably look at how grotesque this movie is and then pivot towards pushing the boundary of what they could get away with in movies like Terrifier 2. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. Do you think Terrifier 2 is going to have the impact that I'm thinking that it's going to? I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Have a good one.